Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lee Judges TV. Now, we're doing something a little bit different today. We thought, Dan's away, so me and Dave had a little chat. And he said, what about doing something on your own? And so I said, yeah, I'll do that. Like, forgetting that I had an appointment at the rugby today and had a few beers, but never mind, drowning the sorrows. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to just have a little chat about what I think and how I feel about the game going forward. And then you can just put in the chat what you think, and which I will try and answer as many questions as I possibly can with a little help from Dave in the background. How do I feel after yesterday? Well, I feel I don't know how I feel really. I feel upset, annoyed, angry, not just with Mr. Mason, but with the way Arsenal played, the way they're going about it in their last couple of games. And I'll explain why I feel about that. And that hurt yesterday, and it took me a little while to get over it. And I'm going to be really honest. When I see apologies being made today, not good enough. I don't know how everybody feels about that. Apology means nothing. Means nothing. And it's funny that a mistake like that is made when it's the Arsenal. Like it was earlier on in the season at Manchester United with Mr. Mason in charge. Now, funny that Manchester United, Manchester City have made a good inroads into. Been a good day for the Manchester lads and the Manchester team, City and United today. Does anybody know where Mr. Mason comes from? Manchester. Strange, isn't it? Strange, worrying. But let's just talk about that first of all. And I'm not going to sugarcoat because it was a poor performance yesterday. I thought Brentford, if I'm going to be really honest, were the better team. I think that they were the better team, and we was very, very fortunate not to be 2-0 down at half time. They missed chances. Is that our fault? No. They've missed them. It's not lucky. It's not nothing. They've missed their chances. Didn't play well. Get the goal up. We're 1-0 up. I thought we was defending not very, very well. And you think, right, we're going to go on and win the game. And then the decision, they score. I thought it was a perfectly good goal. And I have to say, I didn't think nothing of it. Then all of a sudden, the VAR check comes along. And on my WhatsApp group, and that people say, it's definitely offside. It's not going to be given. And then all of a sudden, it is given. Then I get home and watch it. Absolutely scandalous. Scandalous decision. Now, everybody is going to jump on that. Everybody who's the positive Arsenal fans, and I'm not criticising those people. That's up to them how you want to follow them and look at the club. We'll look at that and start blaming that. And yes, it is. At the end of it, whatever way you look, doesn't matter how bad you played. Sometimes you play bad and win 1-0. Do you remember the old saying, isn't it? Like, oh, you play well, but you win 1-0. Well, we played bad. Played bad and win 1-0. We played bad. But we was 1-0 up, and it's a sign of a good side, that, isn't it? You play bad and you win. So this not go around that, but we didn't play well. But we should have gone into that last 10 minutes, 1-0 up. And different game, I think, we ride that first 10, 15 minutes. We go on and win the game 2-0. Who knows? We don't know what's going to happen, if we be honest. But we're looking at it, we'd be in a much better place, if I'll be honest. But let's be really honest. It's not just happening at Arsenal, these poor decisions. And then what can you say to... I don't know how to... how you can explain this. You know what I mean? Like, from his point of view, how can you make that mistake? Is it really incompetence? I don't think so, because, it's part and parcel of your job. If you're a postman and you go around your round and you don't put in the post box once, and you come back and you say to the boss, well, what you've done with the delivers? Well, I forgot to put them through the post box. What's he going to do? What's he going to say to you? You're sacked, aren't you? I'm sure of it. If I was doing, I used to have the dry cleaners, everybody knows, like, you know what I mean? If someone comes in and says, can you clean my shirt? And I put it on an hanger and go, I forgot to clean it. But there's £2.50 for it. What are they going to do? Not going to come back again, are they? It's such a bad thing, And I have to say, it's shocking. It is an absolute shock. It's embarrassing for the Premier League for a start. It's embarrassing for the referees association. It's embarrassing for everybody, like, you know. And I have to say, am I surprised by it? No, I'm not surprised by it because these have been happening all the time. Now, what it's really done is, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm disappointed with the result and everything like that. And of course, you know what I mean. And we dropped 2 points yesterday. Let's be honest about it. When people turn around and say, "Oh, it's a point gained," it's not a point gained. What I will say is that if you can't win the game, don't lose it. And I think we're doing that a little bit more this time around. You know, I felt the game against Newcastle, we could have lost that game in the past. We didn't. We got a point. Could have lost this game, but we didn't. We got a point. But something's not quite right at the Arsenal at the moment. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, other than that we've really come back from the World Cup. We've had some very, very difficult games. Now, I will say this, and I've been thinking about it quite a lot over the last couple of days. Why has it all gone wrong? Why are we not playing well at this moment in time? Is it the end of the world? Is it all over for us? And that, you know, and I'm at the point of no, it's not all over at this moment in time. I think we've got to have a realistic look at it. Newcastle, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester City, all in the game, all had to play those games. You know, it's going to take a little bit out of you. They're all intense, very, very difficult games. Come through them, apart from the Manchester City game. So you look at it and think that maybe, like, you know, when you're playing 3 or 4 of the teams in the top 4 or 5, physically and mentally it's going to take a little bit out of you, and it did. Then we come up against a Sean Dyche side. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If we would have been playing Frank Lampard's Everton, we would have won that game. Adrian, who was on the show last week, if you caught him, come up with a great point. He reckons every team would have lost at Everton last week. Don't matter who it was, and I tend to agree with that when I look back at the game. But then you got to back it up against Brentford. I felt we lacked ideas. We lacked a little bit of know-how, how to break it down. We didn't look really, really good. And for the first time this season, I've looked at it and thought, wow, we've missed Jesus. And we have. That was the sort of game that it was crying out for him. Now, Eddie's done well, no doubt about that. But it's a sort of different game to what he's looking at. Eddie likes to attack behind the defence with a bit of space, bit of like green behind the defence and before the goalkeeper. A little bit like Martinelli, if I'll be honest. But there's nothing there. Brentford, Everton defending on their 18-yard box. It's hard to get in behind. That's what we've got to say from that point of view. Now, I'll go about Jesus. We've missed Jesus and all that. Like, you know, we haven't in the last few games because it's been a little bit different when you're playing teams like Manchester United that are going to attack you. Tottenham are going to attack you as well. And even Manchester City, even though we lost that game, I thought Eddie done well. But what this game, if you can cast your memories back to Wolves, we were struggling to break down Wolves away from home just before the World Cup started, if you remember rightly. 0-0 first half, going in the second. Lovely little bit of magic from Jesus. And we get the goal from Odegaard. We haven't got that now. And then you can get away with it 2 or 3 games, but now it's 5, 6, 7, 8 games. And what I look at it now is that when you look at Jesus, everybody's saying, I've got to get him back and all that. But we can't rely on it. We can't rely on it like we can't rely on Smith Rowe. By the way, Smith Rowe would have been a good addition to the team yesterday. A fit. Would you imagine if we had a fit, firing Smith Rowe arriving in the box late, can do a trick, can go past the player? If you have a look at Xhaka, you have a look at Partey, even Odegaard to a certain degree, don't really go around players and then drive, do they? They're more of a neat passing sort of team, like, you know. So we need to have that little bit of difference in there, and I feel that that's what's been missing at this moment in time. Now, come Wednesday, I think it'd be a different game because, you know, City will attack. I'll be very surprised if they don't. And let's be honest, Newcastle come there to attack us and have a go at us, but after 10, 15 minutes, they realised that they can't play that way and went down a different route and really set the blueprint for other teams to follow. And that is what we've got to do. We need to get a different option in there. Now, people say about a plan B. another centre forward. Oh, wouldn't we love someone like Ivan Toney in our ranks and all that, like, you know? But we didn't go for that. We didn't go for that. And what we've got now is a problem of where to go. I do think that let's talk about a couple of players. Martinelli. People are saying that he's not on form and all that. That was the most disappointing game from me there on Saturday because I couldn't really find excuses for his poor performance. If I look back on it, I felt that against Everton he wasn't getting the ball early enough, and then in the second time, this game, I felt that he was getting the ball quite early, but nothing happening. One thing I will say in his defence is he's not getting the support from Shinchenko because he's not coming out wide. But let's be honest about this. We've had a lot of success with Shinchenko playing the way that he has. So I don't really see it as a problem. I just think that Martinelli, for whatever reason, has just lost a little bit of form. And then when you look at form, it is very, very important. Like Granit Xhaka, I think I'm a big fan of Granit Xhaka. I think we all are at this moment in time, like, you know, but wasn't quite at it again yesterday. Looked a little bit jaded. I don't know how you guys feel about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. It looks a little bit jaded for me, like, you know. And my biggest concern and the player that is worrying me more than anybody now is William Saliba. Burst onto the scene at the beginning of the season, unbelievable. Physically, pacey, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant in every department. Lost every header yesterday. You wouldn't have said that 2 months ago before the World Cup, 3 months ago, whenever it was. He's just lost a little bit of form, a little bit of confidence. I don't really know what's going on with him there, like, you know. Ben White not been at his best. I thought Ben White was better than what he was the last couple of games, but got into some really, really good positions and didn't deliver, you know. So he, you know, at the wrong time that we're having a little bit of players losing a bit of form. But listen, the positive of that is because we had such a good start and done really, really well, we can afford to have that little slip up and that. You know, we've had a little blip in the last couple of games, right? The last couple of games, we've had a little bit of a blip, but we're still, if we win on Wednesday night, we can be 6 points clear with a game in hand. Now, crisis, not for me. And when you're 3 points at the top with a game in hand, how can it be a crisis? How can we going on about and saying, "Oh, this is wrong and that's wrong"? We're not playing well at the moment, guys. We know that, like, you know. So it's just really, really frustrating that we're not playing really that well at the moment. And if we be really honest, let's be honest about it. You would look at those games, Brentford and Everton, and go, how many points will you get out of that? If someone said to you in the pub or wherever you may on a train or whatever, and said, we're going to get 1 point out of them, you'd be having a go at them and going, cool, you're Mr. Doom and Gloom, you are. No, where's the positivity of it all? But that is the fact that's what's happened. But then if you turn around and go, well, what are you going to get out of Manchester United, Spurs and Newcastle? And you get 7 points, people will be happy with that, like, you know. So I'm not saying it's a crisis at the moment. Is it time to worry? Yeah, I think it may be a little bit of time. It is time to worry because the lead's dwindling, and of course, you know, we're letting not only Manchester City catch up, but we're also letting Manchester United catch up, and that will be disappointing if they overtake us as well. Would it be? Would it be deemed what's the word, like failure if we come third? No, it wouldn't. But you have to look at it and go, look, we was in pole position last season for fourth and we didn't get it, and we was in pole position to win the league this season and we didn't get it. So there will be questions going to be answered, but at this moment in time we've got an opportunity to beat Manchester City. Now, this Manchester City game, whether this is a good thing or not, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Haaland looks like he's not going to play. It looks like a hamstring injury, which he's picked up today. I haven't seen the games or nothing because obviously I've been at the rugby today. But looking at it, what I've seen, it looks like a hamstring injury. Massive gamble if they play him. Let's hope they do. If he doesn't, will that suit the way they play against us? I'm not so sure. I rather, I don't know how you guys, I'd rather have Haaland not in the team than in the team. So whatever way it looks at, it could be a good thing for us, like, you know. So we have to move with the games. Listen, I'm going to be really honest. You're not going to win every game in the Premier League. It's not going to happen. You're not going to, and you're not going to win every single home game as well. But the facts of the matter is, the last couple of games we've drawn, apart from the Man United game, which we scored with, if you remember, in the last minute. Otherwise, it could have been 3 draws at the time on the bounce. Now, if I'll be really honest, let's assess that. It's not been that good at home in the last few games. I think that teams have sussed us a little bit, and again on Saturday we didn't look really good. So listen, I've been waffling on for 15 minutes now. It's your turn to have your say now. So fire the questions at us, and we'll go, like, you know. So I can't read that, Dave, if I'll be honest, like, so I'm gonna have to read them from the right hand side, like, you know what I mean. So if you hurry up and just put some questions in there, otherwise this is not going to work, like, you know what I mean. So question from Matt. Yes, Matt, I still play football. Not today. We had the day off, but yeah, I do still play for the Vets, Wolfham Abbey Vets, on a Sunday. So yeah, still do that. Is Arsenal getting predictable now? They have done in the last few games, you know, and I think that they have, and I think they've got to start changing it up a little bit, like, you know.
Lee, I can read the questions out for you if you want.
Yeah, go on then, Dave. Go on, fire them out.
Yes, sir. Okay. Richard Wasty says, "Good evening, Lee. Would you drop Martinelli and start Trossard on Wednesday against Man City?"
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't for this game, like, you know, because for me, I feel that we'll have a little bit of space behind in this game. They'll push up a little bit more. Maybe when we play a team that's going to play blocks defensively, maybe. But for this game, Martinelli plays because there's going to be space behind.
Okay. Nasir Dada says, "Are you afraid of Man United catching us up? Also, Man City play each other twice, and there'll be points drop at the top."
Yes, 100%. You know what I mean? Manchester United are very much in this, like, you know, very, very important that we beat them a couple of weeks ago. But also they dropped points against Leeds. And this is a funny thing, isn't it? Everybody turns around and says, Manchester United dropped 2 points against Leeds, but Arsenal gained a point against Brentford. Doesn't work like that. Manchester United dropped 2 points on Wednesday night against Leeds, and Arsenal dropped 2 points on Saturday. Fact. So, you know, listen, Manchester United are in a very, very good position going into Wednesday's game, because they know that one of the teams or both of the teams above them are going to drop points. So they're chasing. I would rather be in our position than theirs, of course. You know what I mean? Like, but let's face it, if we lose on Wednesday, Manchester City will be above us, and that doesn't look good. I'd rather us be in pole position and than what we are. Listen, we've got an opportunity on Wednesday to put it right, put some distance between ourselves. A distance between Manchester City and Manchester United. Big opportunity needs to be taken on Wednesday.
Alex McCarthy says, "Has Arsenal have now been found out?" I'm sure he's talking about tactics, like Arsenal.
Yeah, I think that I do think that, you know, listen, I think Newcastle put the blueprint out there, and other teams have looked at that. Listen, if you beat Arsenal have been winning game after game after game. If a team like Everton goes and beats them, every coach is going to look at that and try and follow it, and maybe add to different little things. Brentford done it a little bit. Actually, Brentford were more, I would say, they went for it a little bit more than, say, like Newcastle did, which is surprising. But they was doing. If you have a look at Brentford yesterday, they went a little bit long going into Tony, like Everton did again with us with Calvert-Lewin, and we struggled a little bit. You know, you could see that. Is there a weakness with Saliba in that area? And if there is, someone's picked it up, and now it's important that when that ball comes up for Saliba, he does well. Listen, I don't think it's a problem with Saliba, by the way. I just think he just lost a bit of form. When he come on against Haaland in the cup game, he was physical and won battles there. I just think that it's a little bit different when you're in the ascendancy, controlling games of football. It's a different way of defending than backs up to your wall defending. And I think that's the problem which Saliba's got at this moment.
Yeah, Chaitanya, obviously regular listener. I think Chaitanya. Arteta should take a little blame on the. Should Arteta take a little blame on the substitution? We went 1-0 up and should have subbed in Tomiyasu and Tierney, maybe even Holden to protect the 1-0 lead. Exactly.
Yeah, You could say that, but listen, I think it was only 5 minutes after they scored. I'm pretty sure that Holding would have been in his faults with another 5 or 6 minutes to go. Listen, when you're not playing well and you get in front, that's when you've got to defend well. That's when your defenders win you titles. There is a saying in it: forwards win matches, defenders win leagues. That is when it matters, and we was let down. Listen, we're clearing the ball 5 yards up the field, or it's going up in the air. Defending wasn't good, but listen, I wouldn't have been against bringing Holding on with 10 minutes to go, like he has done in the past. But I don't think you should be looking at Arteta on this one like at this moment in time. I'm going to say this now. I felt that his substitution, obviously, he brought on Martinelli. Brought off, Martinelli for Trossard. Trossard scores. So you have to say good bit of coaching that or whatever. And I like the one. Even though it didn't work, he took off Xhaka and put in Vieira in there to try and be a little bit more creative in that position. It didn't work, but at the end of the day, at least we tried something different. I've heard a few people say that, like for like substitutions all the time. I think he was a little bit more adventurous with that one. And it didn't work. But I think that looking at Arteta going forward, particularly in these games, when you know that they're going to be blocking and doing what they're doing, banks of 4, banks of 5 in front of the defence and midfield, we're looking at Arteta and seeing what he does there. I think that Smith Rowe would be very, very important. We need to get him back, lads, and get him back fit. And if we can, then we'll be a little bit better. I think at this moment in time, still, he hasn't got what he wants on the bench, but I don't think at this moment in time it's Arteta's fault. But going forward, he needs to do something.
Yeah, we have kind of like 3 kind of joined questions here. It's against the VAR decision. Do you think there should be protests of VAR? Then Ensman says, should all the fan bases, and he's a Liverpool fan, should all the fan bases stand against the refs? And then Muna says, do you think the EPL should consider proving international refs that have been obviously consistent across the board?
Yeah.
Like about the refs in general, VAR. Do you think the fan base should stand up against VAR itself? All of them.
Well, I think that the fans need to do something like, listen, you're waiting 3 minutes for a decision yesterday, which was wrong. Let's be honest, it was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, say again?
Instantly. The World Cup did it quickly. Instant.
Yeah. It was a lot quicker in the World Cup. Apparently, look, it's not just Lee Mason that fought here. Apparently, there's an assistant VAR person as well. Like, you know what I mean? So I know he's got the wrath of it, like, and rightly so. But also, there's somebody else in there supposed to be helping him out. The fact of the matter is that these refs are not good enough to referee, and they're not good enough to do VAR. It's been an ongoing problem for a little while now. It needs to be addressed. It's supposed to be the best league in the world. Well, it's being let down by the officiating. You know what I mean? The teams, 1 to 20 in far as the teams are concerned, are fantastic. You go to the bottom of the league, you're not guaranteed of winning a game. You go look at Leicester and Spurs yesterday. Like, Spurs beat Manchester City one week and then lose to Leicester next week. The competition in the Premier League is fantastic. It's strong, it's vibrant, but then it's being let down by the officiating. It cannot continue to be let down. People are paying a lot of money and they're seeing things like that. It's wrong. So I think, they've got to have a little look at it, and the refereeing has got to improve. Whether it will or not, I don't know. It's just been getting worse. And the refereeing, by the way, has been getting worse and worse year by year. And it's shocking.
Yeah. And we've got a few more highlighted questions, then we're going to a quick fire.
Yep.
Lee, a guest from Russia, sent a super chat. Thank you very much. What do you think of Fabio Vieira's performance yesterday? Do we need to keep this player or sell him in the summer?
Oh, listen, I think Vieira was bought not just for this season, but for the future. I think that he's needs a little bit more time to settle in and everything like that. I look at him and I think he's talented. I look at Robert Perez when he first came to the team. It took him 6, 7, 8 months to settle in at Arsenal. So I'm not really rushing this at the moment there. I think we can see there's talent there. I think that he come on against Everton. I thought he'd done okay. He's limited opportunities at the moment. And it's very, very hard, I'm going to say this, to break into this Arsenal 11 at this moment in time. But I think that when you see games like yesterday and we're getting a little bit jaded and things like that, he has got to step up a little bit more now. And I do expect him to have a better second half of the season. But let's not get on his back. He's 21 years of age, moved to a different country, different culture. Give him a little bit more time before we make that decision.
Yeah. Let's get a good super chat, actually. Lee, do you think that the current ex-referees who work with VA should be replaced by former players during the job? The super
Well,
chat.
Lawrence, I think that's a great point. I think that it would be, but are you going to get former players to do it?
Especially with
I don't
legions and
know,
stuff, I think it'd be
it doesn't have to be former professional players. Like even like non-league players or whatever know what's happening on there. But realistically, do you need an ex-player to put a line down the centre there? I think both were offside without even using lines. You know what I mean? So it's just incompetence of referee. The officials at the moment, they're so bad. The trouble with referees at this moment in time and I know this for a fact. If you want to become a professional referee, you've got to start refereeing at 16, 17 to get to the very, very top, to get to the top. Now, what should you be doing at 15, 16, 17? Not refereeing games. You should be playing games. The reason that you become a referee is because you footballing, you can't do it no more. So these refs are going into it looking for a profession at 16, 17. You know what I mean? Well, listen, I never wanted to be a referee when I was 16, 17. I don't want to be a referee at my age now. You know what I mean? I wanted to play football. I wanted to play, and I understand how the game's played by playing the game. You know what I mean? And so this is the problem you've got with referees. They've not played the game at any decent standard. Why? Because they've been refereeing all the time. And at the end of it, I'd rather be a very, very good player than a very, very good referee. I don't know the answer. But whether you're a good referee or not even a referee, to forget to do that, I don't think there's any excuse for that. I really don't. I don't think there's any excuse whether you played the game or not. It's just terrible, terrible. Job. You're doing your job badly. I can't put it any other way. Awful. Absolutely awful.
Gunnar Russ, obviously we know.
Go on, Russ.
Very well. Can we not swap Martinelli and Saka around when we're struggling?
Yes. Great point. Why not? Why not try that? Why not try something different so we can go on the outside a little bit? You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be nice to try that? Try something a little bit different. You would then have Martinelli maybe cutting inside like he does on there, or just changing it around a little bit. I don't know how you feel. I'm not going to be honest. I'm not going to be really nasty when I say this, and I'm not criticising Eddie, but I didn't think Eddie would have scored in a month of Sundays in his last two games. Not his fault. It's the way that the games are going. He needs to play in behind or off the shoulder. It's not happening. Why not change that around? Why not stick Martinelli up there and bring on Trossard? Why was it like for like? Listen, it worked because we got the goal yesterday, but I'm thinking long term, different times, different games. Listen, the quicker we get Jesus back, the better. Do you imagine if there was 20 minutes to go from the end and he was coming on? I think that would frighten defenders. I don't think those defenders at this moment in time, and again, I'm not criticising Eddie when I say this, they're not having sleepless nights when they know they've got to play Eddie. But I tell you what, if they've got Jesus on, they're having sleepless nights, and then Eddie coming on with 20 minutes from go, that's a different story, or the other way around. So I think we need to get that sorted out very, very quickly. But listen, I don't think we're going to see Jesus back for a few weeks at the earliest.
Yeah. And then we'll do this question in a really quick fire round for 5 minutes. Lee, do you think, as brilliant as Jack has been, and we are limited by his lack of mobility, and it's hurting Martinelli's game a bit?
So was that against Xhaka?
Yeah. Do you think, as brilliant as Jack has been, we're limited? Do you think we're limited by his lack of mobility? And
I think it's a problem.
Hurting Martinelli a bit?
I think it's a problem. But I don't think it's just all about Xhaka, if I'll be honest. I think Martinelli's missing Jesus as well, and his movement, what he does, because, Jesus will take players away as well, so I think there's a little combination of it all there. I just think that Xhaka, the last couple of games, has looked a bit jaded, if I'll be honest, But listen, when he was banging a goal against Spurs, we wasn't saying that, was we? So, when we're not doing so well, people will look at other things, and quite rightly so. But for me, I think Martinelli can't be looking at other people. He's got to be looking at himself. he had opportunities to take on the fullbacks yesterday, couldn't do it. And then Trossard come on and done it straight away. So Martinelli's got to look at himself as well. But also you've got to look at Martinelli and Saka at this moment in time. They're danger players and they're being respected and having two players on them all the time. So they've got to be they've got to find ways of doing it themselves as well. So it's not just all on other players. They've got to be able to do it themselves as well.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go into quick fire. Sadiq says, do you think missing out on first targets in January, winners catching up? Imagine using Jorginho money for João Felix. João Felix would have been good in that game yesterday.
Listen, if Arsenal don't win the league, don't get top four this season, or where everybody expects them to be, or at the end of it, they're going to look at the January transfer window. We brought in squad players to come in. All of our three players have not started any Premier League games. The only one that started one is Trossard when he when he started in the FA Cup. They're brought in to strengthen the squad. We've not done anything in the transfer window to improve that 11. Now that was tough to do. Statement signing would have perhaps been a little bit better, but I'm not going to go on about the transfer window because at this moment in time, we don't know. If we don't win the league at the end of the season, we can look at maybe 3, 4, 5 different things. One of them will be the transfer window if we don't do it.
Yeah. It's a good question, actually, Lee. You've been to the games. Hi, Lee. I've never been to the Emirates. Do you think the atmosphere has gone up, down in any way because of recent results? How's the atmosphere changed because of recent results? Anything different, Emirates?
Oh, that's a great question. I felt that the Emirates was a little bit nervous on Saturday. I think we all knew what it was going to be, and I think the Emirates was a little bit frustrated. But I still think there was great noise there. I was fortunate enough to meet Marcus Gow afterwards, who, if people don't know him, was a Brentford ambassador and former Brentford player. He said that's the first time he's been to the Emirates with that sort of atmosphere, and he thought he was very impressed with it. And I actually asked him afterwards, who do you think is going to? Do you think Arsenal will win the league? And he did say, he said he still thinks Arsenal will win the league. He said, Brentford are a very, very good side. But I didn't think the atmosphere was too bad yesterday. Look, listen, I think it'd be a little bit more different. I always think these games are the worst ones. I think on Wednesday, I will go there thinking we might win, we might lose, we might draw. And that adrenaline goes and you try and support a little bit more than probably when you think today, Saturday, well, I think we're going to win this game. A lot of fans thinking it was going to be a foregone conclusion. Thought he was going to win easily, but every game's difficult. The fans have still got a job to do. We've still got a job to do.
Yeah, super chat from Wormlet says Lee Mason's like a bus driver ploughing into the bus stop. Oh, I forgot to press the brakes. To think the title may come down to a proxy VAR mistake. Imagine if it comes down to 1 point, and that's it's cost Arsenal.
Well, yeah, if it comes down to 1 point, I think that we'll all look back at this game. But you can also look back at other games as well, that haven't happened. And, so I think at the end of it, you have to look at it and say, look, let's make sure this month, if we beat Manchester City, it won't matter at this point, won't matter, you know what I mean? So if it comes down to it, people are going to say about that. I don't know, how I will feel about that come the end of the season. I don't know. Look, listen, at this moment in time, we're in a title race. We're still. I'm actually looking forward to Wednesday. I'm going to be really honest about it because we're going into the game with something on it. Last season, it was great to play Manchester City, but there wasn't really nothing on it. Maybe a chance of top four. We was in and out of it. But come on. Let's enjoy the ride at the moment. It's a fantastic ride, and we're all disappointed about yesterday because we feel that we've got a chance of winning a title. Hope kills you, doesn't it? But I'm still hopeful that we can still win this title.
How would you rate Joel Eaton says? How would you rate Odegaard compared to Ozil and Ramsey?
Listen, Odegaard's been fantastic for us this season. Fantastic. He's had a couple of poor performances in the last couple. I don't think he's been that bad. It's just like the decision making and all that. There was one time yesterday when he should have just put it into Martinelli and he decided to cross it. You know, even Xhaka had a game because Xhaka moved, pushed into the 6 yard box to create that space, and he just chose the wrong option. I think he's still playing okay. Listen, players ain't going to play well every week, and when you're an attacking player like Odegaard, you know, it's a lot harder than being a defensive midfield player. The higher you go up the field, the harder it gets. And I think maybe we're relying on him a little bit too much, but relying on the wide players a little bit too much. But listen, he's had a couple of indifferent games. So what? You know what I mean? Like, he can't play well every week.
That's true. We got a super chat and then maybe a couple more. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Sorry, my bad. This one here. Cody Bristow says Martinelli, Trossard, and Saka should be our front three. Trossard offers something different and will be interchangeable across the whole front line. Maybe a good shout for Trossard to be up. Maybe playing a false nine kind of situation.
Yeah, I think that's something that maybe to look at when I wouldn't play that on Wednesday night. My three would be the same three that played Saturday. I think it'd be a different game. I think it'll suit Eddie, and I think it'll suit Martinelli, and it'll suit Saka a little bit more this game. I think this is a team that's going to come toe to toe with us, and I think it'll be a different game. But I do feel that somewhere along the line, Mikel Arteta has to be a little bit more open about things like that. You know, he's a little bit rigid with what he does at this moment in time. And listen, I'm not going to criticise him for that because it's been very, very successful. But the last sort of 3 games since Newcastle have come here and got a point. They was the first team to come here and get a point, doing it a certain way. Manchester United, they went toe to toe with us for a certain while, and then in the end, they were defending. We nicked it in the last minute, and Brentford, I thought, done a number on us. So, but they didn't beat us. So it's something that he's got to be looking to do and looking at, and I'm pretty sure that I'm confident that he'll find a way.
Okay, we're going to leave in the last 2. Adam says, Lee, is a City game on Wednesday our biggest game for years?
100%. 100% massive game. Look, I'm going to be really honest, guys. If we have aspirations of winning the title, we must win this game. Simple as that. Like, you know, if we don't win this game, we probably won't win the title. But that it ain't the end of the world. It ain't failure. That's not saying that we won't win it. Won't win it. But I don't think that we will. I think that if we win this game and go 6 points in front with a game in hand and then beat Everton, because that will be our game in hand, I think we'll be there. We have a massive game on Wednesday, but then we have a game against Aston Villa 12:30 on the Saturday. So physically, mentally, we've got to recover quickly. There will be changes in that game against Aston Villa. And if we've got the result against Manchester City, I think that will be enough to take us into that game. But if we was to lose to Manchester City, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to get everybody up for that Aston Villa game as well. So it's a massive game on Wednesday. Let's make no mistake about it. And we need to win it. You know what I mean? We need to win this game. If we've got any aspirations of winning the title, we need to win this game.
Yeah. And last super chat here from 20 says, would you start Jorginho and Partey together in the midfield so we have more control? Or would you let Partey get further forward and maybe help us in transition?
I will keep the same midfield. What change something because it's not broken yet. I think at the end of it, we've had 2 games where one we got done by a set piece. 2, we got a draw out of a game which we didn't play well in, but a decision went for us which we know we should have. If we'd have won 1-0, no one would be saying anything. You know, yes, it was all about the result and all that. So, listen, I think at the end of it, I will keep the same team.
And a bit off topic, Lee, who's winning the Super Bowl tonight?
The Philadelphia Eagles. Best team in it this season. I think so. They've been the best team in it. The Washington done them. They had a little blip after that. Now, listen, they was going unbeaten. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 8, 9, 10 games, and then Washington come along, who are rubbish and beat them. And they just had a little slight wobble themselves before picking themselves up. And now they're at the Super Bowl. So, even the greatest teams have a little wobble. Remember that.
Yeah, if everybody would just put their predictions below for the Man City while we cover this last question. Well, it's not a question so much. It's from Premsy. Premsy says, big up the job. He said we should jump the ref. What do you think about
that? I'll tell you what. If I'd have seen Mr. Mason at the rugby today, I wouldn't have bought him a drink. Put it that way, you know what I mean. I definitely would. I might pour one over him, but about that. But no, I think I don't think he'll be doing it. I'd be very, very disappointed. I'm going to say this now. If he's ever doing an Arsenal game again in VAR, I'd be very, very disappointed.
And I'll let you sign out, Lee. Obviously, what's your final thoughts for everybody in the chat on your Man City game? What's the final word you're going to have to say?
Final word on it for me. We've got a massive game on Wednesday. Let's try and be positive. Give it all we've got if you're going to the game. Give it all the energy you can if you're not going to the game. Get behind this football team, because I'll tell you what, we have gone off the rails slightly, but they've given me my pride and enjoyment back watching Arsenal Football Club this season. It's been a pleasure watching them. So I'm backing them. I'm backing them on Wednesday night to do the business. 2-1 to the Arsenal. I think it's going to be a cracking game. But if they don't do the business, I'm still backing them to the end of the season, because they've given me something which I didn't think I was going to have for a few years, and that is we are in a title race. How long it will last, well, we don't know. But for me, I'm proud of being an Arsenal fan at this moment in time, and that ain't going to change because we've had a little blip. Let's keep the faith. Let's get the job done on Wednesday, and we take it from there.